In this video tutorial, we are going to move on to part 2 and we're going to complete the mirror tool activity. So it says create a new part file and then use the sketching tools needed to create a similar figure to the one shown in the before image. So you can see here, this is the before, and this is what we're going for after. So there's no dimensions or anything. This is just to get the practice down. Okay, so it says start your sketch at the origin, that's this little blue dot, and proceed to draw in the negative x. So we're going to be drawing on the left side of the origin. It says when finished, select the line that is going vertical from the origin and check the box that is labeled for construction. So this is how you make a construction line. Okay, so this is going to be the construction line. At the very end, you're going to use the mirror entities tool to mirror the entity or the entire sketch across the construction line. So it looks like this. Okay, so let's go to SolidWorks, and we need to go up to File, New, or you can click that little piece of paper and hit Part File. And we're going to be sketching on the front face, so go to this Sketching tab, select Sketch, and the front plane. Let's get our line tool, click on our origin, and we're just going to kind of roughly move out. So remember, we are not trying to make this look perfect here by any means. Okay, so we're just coming down like that. Then the picture shows that there are two circles up here, so one there, one down here, and it shows that there's a big rectangle. So use your different tools to draw. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. What it says is at the very end, you're going to select this line, and you're going to select the option that says for construction. Notice it changes it to a dotted line. So you can make a construction line that way, or when you're actually drawing, a lot of these different tools actually have the button over here already. So for construction, I could draw a construction line just like that. You can even do the same thing with circles, except they don't have the option over here at first, they do afterwards. So notice it pops up after. So there's different ways that you could do this. If you ever want this to not be a construction circle, you can simply select it and uncheck the box. Okay, but let's get back to this because that was a little tangent. So we're trying to learn how to mirror. So we have everything drawn. We have a construction line here. So on the Sketch tab, over at the right, remember this is that modifying section, there is the mirror entities. So this says, what is the entity to mirror? Remember, an entity is like a line or a dot. So it's asking us, what do we actually want to mirror? So you can select the different shapes, like the individual lines, or you can click and hold out here and highlight everything. I think that's much easier. Notice it selected everything at once. Then there's another box that says Mirror About. It shows a little tiny picture there as the construction line and then the new thing to the right of it. So we'll click in that box, click our construction line, and notice it gives us a preview of what's going to happen. So if I were to click somewhere else, see, it's mirroring across whatever line I select. In this case, we want to have all of this selected, and the Mirror About line is the construction line. Then you can hit the green check. And that's how you would simply mirror. So if I would change this, notice it's a mirror reflection. Changes the opposite side as well. So you can back out of this sketch and you can save this and you can move on to the next one. So this next example is the Fillet tool. Notice I called that fillet, not fillet like a fillet of fish. It is fillet. Okay, and the directions say that we're going to create a new part. We're going to draw a rectangle that is 2 inches wide by 1 1/4 tall. We're going to use the Fillet sketch tool to round off the following corners. And notice it shows you different measurements here. So if you are taking notes, you have that symbol. You can go ahead and actually copy and paste some of this over or write your own definition. But I'm going to go to SolidWorks and either hit File New or hit this piece of paper. And I'm going to make a new part. And here we're going to be on the Sketch tab, select Sketch, and the front plane. And it says that we need to make a rectangle. So get the rectangle tool, click on our origin, and let's move up here, click again. Then you can get your smart dimension and you can change those sizes. So the left line here was in inches, and this should be 1¼ tall. Now you notice mine says 86.52. What I forgot to do was change my units. So let's make sure that we are in inches. So when you change your units, when you're editing a sketch, it backs you out of a sketch. So you notice mine's gray. In order to get back in that sketch, I simply right click like I've done plenty of other activities and hit edit sketch. So now I'm back to normal. Okay, so let's try that again. Smart dimension, click the left line, and let's make this 1¼ tall, so 1.25. And across the top, it says its width is 2 inches. Okay. Now, the Fillet tool on the Sketch tab is bottom row, third one in. So you notice Sketch Fillet rounds the corners. So when you select that, it's asking you for an entity to fillet and a radius or a parameter here. So first one we're going to do is this top right, and the picture shows that it is 1/4 inch, 0.25, and I can simply just click on that corner. It shows a little preview in yellow, but you hit the green check and it rounds it. So we could change this measurement if we ever wanted to, just by double clicking on that. And if we want to continue to do this, we can. So the next one is 0.5, and that's this bottom corner, green check. And then the final one here was 0.75. So I'm pretty sure you get the hang of this. It's a tool that rounds corners. It's very simple. And once you got all three of those, you can back out of your sketch. You can go ahead and save this as Fillet tool, and you can move on to the next one. So now that I'm done with the Fillet tool, I'm going to move on to the Chamfer tool. Chamfer is a tool that's similar to Fillet, but in this case, it cuts the corner off on a sharp angle. So it doesn't round it, it cuts it off. So the directions say that we're going to create a new part. We're going to draw a rectangle that's 2 wide by 1½ tall. And then we're going to use the chamfer tool to do a couple different settings here. So I'm going to pull this to my other screen, and I'll go and make a new part in SolidWorks by going File, New, or clicking that piece of paper, making a new part file, and be on the Sketch tab, select Sketch and the front plane. So it says we can draw a rectangle here from our origin. So click on your origin with rectangle tool, and then let's dimension this. So it's 1½ tall. And once again, if you do not check your units first, you might be in millimeters like myself. So I actually need to go down and change my units, make sure it's in inches. If you're already in inches, you're good. But notice, when you change your units in the middle of a sketch, it backs you out. So you need to right click and hit edit sketch if you need to get back in. So if you did draw this in millimeters on accident, see here that it converted that over to inches. So I'm going to change this to 1½ like the directions say, and then the length of this is actually 2. Okay. I'll readjust myself and zoom back in so I can actually see what I'm doing. So the directions show that in the top right-hand corner, we are going to make an angle that has a distance and a degrees. So your chamfer button is underneath the Fillet sketch button. So bottom row, third one in, you need to click the drop down and select Sketch Chamfer. So there are different parameters over here. The parameter we want is angle and distance. So you see that we can change our angle. Here we want to make it 30 degrees, and we need this to be 0.625. 625. So if we move over here to the right, we can select a line, select the other line, and notice it gives us our degrees. So I didn't click on the dot like I did in the Fillet tool. I clicked on my lines because whatever line is selected first is going to be your first option over here, which is your distance in this case. Now you notice I typed in 0.625, so 3 digits, and here it only shows 2 digits. Well, don't think that it erased your digits or it just rounded your digits. If I actually selected that, it is 0.625. So why doesn't it display that? Well, if you double click on the line, not the number, the line, notice over here that it says your tolerance or precision. And it shows that it's only 2 decimal places. If you wanted to change this to showing multiple decimal places, you could show as many as you need. So if you really wanted to say 0.625, that's how you would do that. Okay, so getting back from that little tangent, let's continue on down here to the bottom right hand corner. We're going to go back to our sketch chamfer tool, and this time it shows that we want 2 different distances. So I'm going to change the distance and distance, and here I can select 2 different distances. So 0.25 is one of them, and 0.5 is one of them. So remember, whatever your option is first is going to be the first line you select. So we want the 0.5 across the bottom and 0.25 over here on the right. So notice how that did that. Whatever line you select first is the one that is your first distance. Okay, and then the last option here down in the bottom left, we get our sketch chamfer tool again. This time we want the same distance on both sides of our chamfer. So the easier way of doing that, instead of typing in the number 2 times, is just selecting the equal distance. Notice, whatever we type in is going to make both distances. So we want 0.375. And I can simply click on the corner for this one. And you see there that gives it that little chain link, meaning whatever we change this distance to, it's automatically going to change this distance. They are linked together. So you can hit the green check, and that is the chamfer tool. You can save this by backing out and hitting save, and then you can move on to the next activity.